I shot her 3 times to get here now.
Okay. Who did you shoot?
I shot my girlfriend.
That was Jayme Rogers calling 911 moments after police said he shot his girlfriend. The reason he gave?
Sir, what's going on?
She's a cheating. She got what she deserved.
I go over the death of Jaime Dick, the charges her accused killer faces, and how she's being remembered. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Jaime Dick's family and friends remembered her at a funeral service on Monday. It's been a week since Dick, a mother of 2, was shot to death in Dayton, Ohio. Jaime was young, just 33 years old. No mother, nobody really, but especially a mother to 2 young children, should be shot to death in the middle of the night, and certainly not by someone who is supposed to love her. But that's what police in Dayton say happened. Police say Jayme Rogers, Jaime Dick's boyfriend, called 911 and admitted to shooting Jaime, accusing her of cheating on him. Here's part of the call.
911, what's the location of the emergency?
You get here fast, someone shot.
You said
Get here, someone is shot.
someone shot? Where are they shot
Yep,
at?
I shot her 3 times to get here now.
Okay. Who did you shoot?
I shot my girlfriend.
Okay. Why did you shoot
Get
her?
here now, this is not a joke.
Okay.
Before I figure out how to load this gun without a clip and shoot myself.
Sir, I need you to talk to me here. Can you tell me
No,
what's
get ambulance here now.
That was Jayme Rogers on that call, and you hear him clearly and emphatically say that he shot his girlfriend.
Sir, what's going on?
She's a cheating whore. She got what she deserved. That's what's going on. So tell them when they get here, I'm armed and I'm not going out without a pipe. So get here now and give her medical aid now.
Okay, sir, are you willing to give her medical aid?
Yes, she's shot. Get her medical aid now because she's not already dead.
Okay, sir, what's your name?
She's dead, probably.
What's your
Now.
Jayme Rogers clearly admits to shooting Jaime Dick 3 times. He accuses her of cheating and then said she got what she deserved. It's unbelievable and frankly chilling and absolutely terrifying that someone could be so cruel. An affidavit states, when Dayton police officers arrived on scene, Mr. Rogers walked out to officers and repeated that he shot her. Officers located Jaime Dick, whose name is redacted from the document, inside of her running vehicle, parked on the road alongside her house. She was suffering from apparent gunshot wounds and was removed from the scene, ultimately succumbing to her injuries. Officers observed that the passenger side window to the vehicle had been shot through and located casings both on the street and the sidewalk next to and in front of the vehicle. Mr. Rogers is not permitted to possess or handle weapons, as he has been previously convicted of both possession of heroin and attempted robbery. Information for this warrant was obtained from police reports, 911 calls, and interviews. The way this document reads, it sounds like Jaime Dick was ambushed and likely had no idea of what was coming. This happened around 2 a.m., the morning of Tuesday, February 10th. Dayton police say Jayme Rogers not only admitted to shooting Jaime Dick on that 911 call, but again when the officers arrived on scene. Rogers was booked into the Montgomery County Jail. He faces charges of murder, felonious assault, having a weapon under disability, meaning he's a felon and isn't supposed to have a gun, and discharging a firearm near a prohibited premises. His bail has been set at $1 million cash. On Jaime Dick's Facebook page, her relationship status says she's been in a relationship since February 2012, and the anniversary is Valentine's Day. But there don't appear to be any recent photos of Dick and Rogers together on her Facebook page. One is actually from 2016. Jaime Dick's obituary says Jaime will be remembered as a loving mom, a devoted daughter, and the very best sister a family could ever ask for. She was a beautiful soul in every sense of the word, inside and out, whose kindness, strength, and unwavering love left a lasting mark on everyone who knew her. I'll have more on how she's being remembered shortly. So I want to bring in Mark Weaver. He is a prosecutor based in Ohio. He also sits as a judge on occasion. Mark, thank you so much for joining me. This case is shocking. The 911 call, I want to first of all get your reaction to hearing that 911 call. It's not often that you get a 911 call where somebody calls and essentially reports that they've shot someone and killed somebody.
I've listened to a lot of 911 calls in my career. This is particularly chilling. As you mentioned, this is the killer himself. All of a sudden, he has this strange pang of remorse, wanting medical services for his victim quickly. But he's also got this tone of belligerence. I'm armed. Get ready. They better come. I'm going to fight them. So really, it's troubling all the way around that a mother, would be gunned down like this by somebody who she has this intimate relationship with. But his attitude is one of either bravado or perhaps chemical added, boosted bravado. That's not a defense, of course, but he needs a serious set of charges brought against him.
Well, right now he's facing a murder charge, of course, and who knows if that might be amped up or bumped up to aggravated murder at grand jury. Right now, this is just kind of like the initial charge. And he's facing a charge of, basically having a gun when he shouldn't have. So there are a number of charges that he's facing. But what's so horrifying to me, and you're right, he's saying basically, come and get me, but I'm going to, be ready to fight. I mean, he's putting the cops on notice that, I might fight you, I might resist. That is terrifying. I don't know if that was like a death wish or if he's just that incredibly violent that he was ready to take on the cops, or if he was intoxicated.
Yeah, I don't want to be blunt, but if he had a true death wish, he could have put the gun to his head and killed himself. And that's what we see often. Murder-suicides are so common when you look at violent deaths like this. It's a large percentage of violent deaths. The person shoots the person who they're mad at, often their intimate partner, and then shoots themselves. In this case, either he thought he could get away with it, or he has some warped view of what a man is supposed to do after he's killed a woman.
What's so horrifying to me is that she got what she deserved. And he said that she was cheating. And he's showing remorse in the call, but then showing no remorse. He's saying she deserved it because she was cheating. First of all, we don't even know if she was cheating. This is what he's saying. Nobody who was cheating deserved this. Is that an aggravating factor? Would you look at that as somebody, as a prosecutor, would you possibly look at that admission on the call of saying she was cheating and say, I'm going to grand jury and I'm going to file this or ask the grand jury to indict on aggravated murder?
It's not an aggravating factor. The only way they're going to get this to an aggravated murder and maybe seek the death penalty if there was another felony committed during this murder, if he kidnapped her for a second. What could happen if this goes to trial is you might see the defense, which doesn't have a lot to work with here. They don't have the some other dude did it defense. They don't have an alibi where he was somewhere at a Boy Scout meeting or something. And so you could see the defense lawyer perhaps at the client's request bringing up this notion that somehow she prompted this, that she was the instigator by cheating. Nearly everyone in the jury would roll their eyes at that. Certainly all the women would, and all of the reasonably minded men would. You only need one juror who in the back of their mind goes, yeah, she had it coming. And that hangs the jury and stops a conviction until another trial could happen.
The only thing I could potentially see based on the facts that we know right now, which we don't have all of the facts, are basically that he could probably say, this is crime of passion, manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter or something like that. In any way on any planet, does that fly?
Well, you are accurate to say that under Ohio law and every state law, there are different levels of homicide based on what your mens rea, a mental state, is. And when you premeditate a murder, that receives the highest penalty. And when you do it out of a rash of anger, a fit of violence from passion or something, that is typically a lower one. And so the job of prosecutors is to prove what that mental state was, which is why investigators now are probably looking into their background, his phone, her phone, any potential witnesses who were there right before the killing occurred or maybe even saw the killing occur. That helps the prosecutors decide what level of murder to bring.
Mm-hmm. Right now, he's facing that murder charge, in the state of Ohio. That's, 15 to life is the sentence if you're convicted. It's a mandatory 15 to life. There's no wiggle room there. He's facing a felonious assault charge, having weapons while under disability, which means he was a convicted felon and wasn't allowed to possess a gun. And then discharge of a firearm on or near a prohibited premise. Talk to me, Mark. We often see this in Ohio. Why they charge felonious assault along with murder? Why do they do that? Because we know that Jayme, his girlfriend, Jaime Dick, we know that she passed away. She died as a result of these gunshot wounds. So why is felonious assault charged along with that?
This is what lawyers call lesser included offenses. It means there are different crimes you commit when you commit a murder. You commit assault, and you commit an attempt, perhaps, and you commit the murder. A prosecutor who asks the grand jury to return all of those charges can bring those charges to trial, and the jury will have to decide on all of those charges. But because they came from the same act at sentencing, the judge only sentences on one of them. And the prosecution is allowed to pick which one the judge sentences on. This is called the law of merger for those who want the technical term. And prosecutors always pick the highest one for the judge to sentence on. And so it's often a backstop to give a jury a way to get to a conviction if they can't reach unanimity on the top charge.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'll be interested, though, to see if they believe he held her against her will, if there was a false imprisonment, a kidnapping, something to that effect, another felony that was committed that bumps this up to an aggravated murder.
Yeah,
or
if that happens,
premeditated.
This is Montgomery County, the home of the city of Dayton, for those who don't know Ohio. It is not known as a prosecutor's office that brings many death penalty cases, even though they have their share of death penalty eligible cases. There are certain counties in the state where we expect to see death penalty charges. Traditionally, Hamilton County, the home of Cincinnati, is one of them. Dayton is not. And so the prosecutor there will have to decide whether to look for an aggravating factor to ramp up the charge. It's a much more difficult trial. Having done this, it's a much more difficult trial. You have to, there's two different stages to it. The jury selection takes longer, and any little thing could push it right into life sentence, which is what you could get without bringing the death penalty. So it'll be interesting to see what the evidence is and whether the prosecutor in Montgomery County chooses to bring a death penalty spec.
That's true. And you're right. It does complicate the proceedings. It adds this whole another layer of complexity. I don't have to tell you that. You just said it. In selecting the jury and then the whole trial, the whole case. And then the defense has to go through what's called mitigation and look for all these things in the, client's background that they can present to the jury to say spare his life or her life. So that does add another layer. Plus, let's just face facts. The appeals take forever if you even do get a death penalty verdict. And it takes like 20 years. And in the state of Ohio, at least, there's practically an unofficial moratorium on it. These executions are rarely, if ever, carried out.
It's true. When I was Deputy Attorney General, I worked on numerous death penalty cases, and we found that in some cases, federal judges would take the pleadings, the filing of the appeal, and set it aside in a drawer and not look at it for 3, 4, 5 years at a time, just to delay the process. And they are only one step of a long multi-step process of appeals. So as you mentioned, even if we had a governor who's signing death warrants, and we currently don't have a governor who's signing death warrants because of a dispute over the lethal injection process, even when you have a governor signing death warrants, it is at least 20 years from murder to the execution. And any one of those steps can reverse it and send it back for a new trial.
Mm-hmm. If this lands on Special Prosecutor Mark Weaver's desk, this case, and I know how you are when you prosecute cases, murder charge, as I mentioned, it's a mandatory 15 to life. There's no wiggle room here. Is there any way you do a plea agreement with this at all? I mean, and I'm not talking for a lesser charge. I'm just saying, what's there to offer a plea agreement or a plea deal for? I mean, you can say you can plead to murder, or do you just take this all the way through trial?
Well, first of all, I want to get with the victim's family and talk to them as we gather the evidence. If we could bring a death penalty spec, I would want to find out the strength of the passion of the family of this killer, and how they feel about the death penalty. Ultimately, it's the prosecutor's decision whether the death penalty gets brought, but we care about what the victims think. I've said that to families before. Our decision to decide to go with the death penalty, but we care about your views. There are other charges that can be stacked onto that life sentence, because remember, it's not life in prison without parole, it's 15 years to life, which means a young person could be out in 15 or 16 years unless you stack some other charges on, like the gun specification, like having a weapon under disability, which is because you were convicted, and any other crimes he may have committed along the way. You could stack them and make his minimum stay 20, 25 years instead of 15 years. So you have some flexibility. And you also have to fight pretrial motions. He's going to claim some form of mental instability. He's going to say he's not competent to stand trial. And then when he gets found competent to stand trial, maybe they're going to advance some sort of lack of mental capacity to have formed the intent to commit the crime. And so it could be a lot of pretrial motions as well.
It really is a horrific case. I mean, Jaime Dick, she was a mom, and it's just chilling to me that within minutes, this mom, she's a young mother, and her life is snuffed out over what? Somebody being upset and claiming that she was cheating, and even if she was, it doesn't matter. That it doesn't justify it.
It doesn't. There's a small silver lining in here. In so many of these cases, we see a violent man who's mad at the woman. Not only does he kill her, but he kills the children. And what a blessing that didn't happen, because we see that in too many cases. For some reason, they just keep killing. And so the children were not harmed in this incident. Tragically, this woman was. It's a reminder to all of us that when you're in a relationship with somebody who is volatile and violent, you have to protect yourself however you can, because in these rare circumstances, that violence turns to murder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really horrific and sad, and I just hope for Jaime Dick, the victim, for her family, that they get some justice, and that those children are being raised now with people who love them, or by people who love them, and that they're getting the counseling that they certainly will need. Mark Weaver, thank you so much for your time and your expertise, as always.
Yes, thank you, Angenette.
Now, I want to get back to more of how Jaime Dick's loved ones are remembering her. Her obituary reads, "A hard worker throughout her life, Jaime approached everything she did with determination and heart. Whether caring for her family, supporting those she loved, or as a manager at Wendy's, she gave her all without hesitation. Her quiet strength and gentle spirit made her someone who others naturally leaned on and trusted. Above all else, Jaime treasured her time with her children. Braden was her firstborn. He and his mom held that bond between a mother and son. Jaime loved watching Braden play games, whether it was on his computer or video game console, often playing alongside him. They enjoyed taking Blaze and going to the dog park. On Sundays, they had what they called Special Sunday. Braden and his mom took each Sunday to hang out, talk, and have lunch. Braden's time with his mother was important to him, and her memory will live on in him. Her bond with Callie was unbreakable, filled with laughter, warmth, and shared traditions. Some of their most cherished moments were simple spa days at home, painting their nails in bright colors, applying facial mud masks, and talking about life while music played in the background. Those days were filled with giggles and love, memories that will forever be held close to Callie's heart. Jayme also had a playful side. She was an avid gamer whose favorite escape was building and creating in The Sims. She delighted in designing homes, shaping virtual lives, and letting her imagination run free. It was one of the many ways she expressed her creativity and found joy in the little things. Her faithful companion Blaze brought her great happiness as well. Jayme loved taking Blaze to the dog park, watching him run freely, and soaking in the simple pleasure of fresh air and companionship. Those quiet outings reflected her appreciation for life's uncomplicated blessings. Jayme's love for her family was fierce and unconditional. As a daughter, she brought pride and gratitude. As a sister, she offered loyalty, laughter, and steadfast support. As a mother, she was everything: protector, teacher, friend, and safe place. Jayme Rogers remains in the Montgomery County Jail. He'll be back in court on February 20th. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.